Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where we uncover the hidden wonders in everyday coins. Today's video could literally change how you look at your spare change. We're talking about a tiny coin you might already have in your pocket or piggy bank, the 1990 D Jefferson Nickel. This simple 5-cent coin might look ordinary, but some versions of it have sold for hundreds and even over $3,000. Yes, seriously. Imagine finding one of these coins in your loose change and turning it into a payday. So stick around, because I'm going to show you exactly what to look for, explain the coin's history in simple terms, and break down the rare features and errors that can turn this nickel into real money. First off, let me paint the picture. The US Mint made hundreds of millions of these in 1990, about 663 million from the Denver Mint alone. That's a massive number. So in most cases, when you find a 1990 D nickel in your change, it's worth just 5 cents, unless it's in rare condition or has something unusual going on. That's the headline fact: common coins, common value. Now, 60% copper and 40% nickel, and weighing 5 grams, the coin shows Thomas Jefferson on the front, while the back features his famous home, Monticello. Designed by Felix Schlag, its standard fare. The same design had been used since the late 1930s and is classic and simple. But, there's one cool thing about this 1990 D nickel: it's the last regular nickel minted at Denver before production shifted to Philadelphia in 1991. That gives it a bit of historical value for collectors, because it marks the end of an era. Let's talk about how much it might be worth. Most worn, everyday ones are worth just 5 cents. Even uncirculated ones, those that look brand new, usually only sell for a few dollars, depending on their grade. For instance, a Mint State MS60 coin might fetch around $3. That's still a far cry from the coin being worth thousands. If you want a reference, even in highly uncirculated condition, the value doesn't go super high. But then, there are rare cases that break the mold. The highest auction price for a 1990 D nickel was a coin graded MS66, which sold for over $1,300. That's unique because MS66 is extremely high condition for such a common date, and that price was a record for that coin. But note that it was non-full steps. That means even without the fully detailed steps of Monticello, it still fetched that much just for condition and grade. Even more interesting is that 1990 nickels with full steps, where the bottom of Monticello's steps are completely clear and unbroken, tend to trade for much less. Full steps examples in MS66 sold only for about $45. That tells you condition is king. Even full steps isn't worth much if the coin isn't in top grade. Then there are error coins and proof coins. Proof coins like the 1990s from San Francisco were made for collectors, not everyday use. They often have mirror-like surfaces and sharper detail. They typically can be worth $3 to $10 depending on condition. Those are neat, but still not huge boomers. Some error coins can be more exciting. A double die obverse on a 1990 nickel can be worth anywhere from $50 to several $100 depending on how obvious and sharp the doubling is, and how well the coin looks. Other striking errors like off-center strikes or broad strikes can run between $15 and about $30. These are more interesting than the average coin, but again, not usually thousands. So how did that reported $3,000 value get out there? That figure sounds more like something someone might hope for or saw in rumor. The actual highest documented sales record we've seen for a 1990 D nickel comes in just over $1,000, and that's a special case in an extremely high grade. Without error or full steps, but just pristine condition with a perfect strike and no wear, that's what made it valuable to collectors. Why does grade matter so much? Well, coins are graded on a 70-point scale. Anything from 1 to 70, with 1 being completely worn, and 70 being perfect flawless. Generally, most of us will come across coins near about a 60 or 61, only collectors who save coins right when they're produced, and never spend them, can get coins in MS65 or above. And every step up in grade can multiply value many times. When you have an error or a rare flaw, that can boost value, but only if the coin is also in great shape, or if the error is very dramatic. A slight doubling from die deterioration. Doubling isn't rare enough to be worth much and often confuses new collectors. True, Intentional doubling is rarer and more valuable. You can tell the difference by how crisp the doubling looks. True double die errors are clean and obvious, while deterioration doubling is fuzzy and soft and doesn't add much value. How do you check your nickel, then? First, look at the coin's condition. Does it look shiny, smooth, with no wear on Jefferson's cheek or Monticello's top? Next, turn it over carefully and look at the reverse. If all the steps of Monticello are clear and sharp, it might be a full steps coin. Then use a magnifying glass and look at the date and letters in Liberty. Do you see any doubling? If something seems off-center, that might be an off-center strike. If there's something odd about the shape of the coin's edge, maybe it's clipped or misstruck. If you think the coin is something special, the next step is professional grading by companies like PCGS or NGC. They will evaluate the coin, assign a grade, certify it, and seal it in a plastic holder. That certification is essential if you want to sell a coin for full market value. Buyers trust graded coins more. Let me put it all together in a final thought. Most 1990 D nickels aren't worth more than face value. But if you happen to get one that is unbelievably clean and unblemished like MS66 or higher, it could fetch over $1,000 in auction. If it also has a rare error or qualifies as a real double die or has full steps in top grade, it could be valuable too. But the strongest value driver is condition. Error or full steps can add value, but not more than a perfect condition coin is worth if it's nice enough. So next time you find a nickel from 1990 with a D on it, slow down. Instead of dropping it in the soda machine, give it a close look. Check for sharp details, look at the steps, look for doubling or off-center strike. If it looks really clean and perfect, take a picture, maybe send it to a grading service. You might just be holding something special, or at least learn something cool about coins. That wraps up the story for one small piece of metal that can hold big surprises. If this got you thinking about checking your change, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share with a friend who collects or who loves hunting for treasure in everyday items. Comment below if you found a rare coin story of your own. I'd love to hear it. Thanks for watching, and happy coin hunting in your pockets.